how should I start it to like introduce it? Should we go for a kill and just say we have the world's quickest Hummer H2? So we have what we believe is probably the world's quickest Hummer H2. I don't think it's the most powerful or the most crazy, even though it's up there. As far as we can find, we can't find a quicker quarter mile done by a Hummer H2 on the planet. So this showed up probably 2 years ago, looking for a basic handheld, super chips, Diablo tuner, something of that sorts, which we quickly steered the customer away from that decision. From there, it turned into a cam swap, exhaust, dyno tune situation. Did pretty good. I can't remember the exact numbers. Customer wound up bringing it back a couple months later, want more power. We moved to a Whipple 2.3 setup. I think we got close to the up around 600 horsepower range. Hummer lived at that for quite some time. Took it out to the drag strip. It's a giant heavy boat. I want to say it's around 7,000 pounds. I think we had a 1401 was the quickest we got at around the 94 mile an hour mark. Just really big boat. Doesn't go that fast, but it is what it is. It's Hummer H2. From there, we had the customer chasing that 13-second number on that setup, and like we said, 1401 is as close as we got, so it's close. So it came back this past winter to get revamped for even more power after we lost what seemed to be a cam bearing, I believe, one of the factory cam bearings. Let loose, got low oil pressure, so we said it was time to get the bottom end built. We segued into all sorts of crazy stuff. Once we pulled the engine out, we moved to one of our strictly 408 short blocks, uses a diamond piston, Callie's connecting rod, Callie's Comstar crank. And we started chit-chatting with the customer throughout the engine build, trying to figure out some more of his goals, and we wound up pretty much redoing a lot of the hard parts on the setup. We ditched the Whipple 2.3 and moved to one of Magnuson's new hot rod 2650 kits. 2650s have been doing really great. We ran them in a lot of cars here. So when we did the 408 short block, we kept his 317 heads. We sent them out, had them CNC ported. We upped them to a Brian Tooley PDS Stage 4 supercharger cam. Brian Tooley Valvetrain and push rods from the previous cam swap were all still in good shape. We actually did away with the Hummer factory accessory drive because one of the biggest issues we ran into when we started pushing the Whipple 2.3 was keeping a belt on it. It was slipping belts, tossing belts. We literally couldn't get through 2 hits without losing a supercharger belt. So we wound up taking everything off and getting a full CTS-V accessory drive. That required a custom motor mount and custom AC lines to retain AC that works just like it did from the factory. But what that did is let us have an independent belt for the supercharger. So you've got AC belt, serpentine belt, and then supercharger belt. So we've got the supercharger now on a 10 rib drive, utilizing a 10-inch lower and a 90 millimeter upper, which comes out to a little over 3.5-inch upper pulley. That put us right at about 16 pounds, which was really conservative, considering what this thing made. So we wound up making a complete custom intake setup for this in-house. We had to go with something large since we were running a 112 millimeter throttle body from Kong Performance. We believe the inlet on that is almost 4 3/4. So we went with a 5-inch tube, and you'll see some shots of this thing under the hood. There is not a lot of room between the core support and the throttle body on this one. So we did make a corner there. We had to get rid of the factory fan setup on it and go with a complete custom shroud with 2 big custom radiator fans on there. But we did wind up snaking that around, got it over to a custom AirBox that we built. It's a pretty cool unit. You'll see some pictures of it here in this video. We kind of have an internal velocity stack, and it's set up so that the customer can take the lid off at the drag strip and get a lot more air into the AirBox when he's out doing that kind of stuff. We also did a custom ice tank and a custom heat exchanger, since nobody really makes a bolt-on heat exchanger for a Hummer H2. This thing stays surprisingly cool. We were seeing IAT temperatures climbing maybe 20, 30 degrees in a pull, which is pretty good considering we've seen stuff jump up over 100 on a quick dyno pull. As far as fuel goes, we have an in-tank Walbro 450, and then we have a magnafuel 750 that is mounted externally and turned on through a hob switch. ID 1300s are what we're running for injectors. This thing is on full flex fuel, so it can run full 93, full 85, any mixture of the two. We swapped the trans from the factory 4L65 over to a 4L80 built by Jake's Transmissions. It's running a single disc Circle D converter, long tube headers, and a full custom exhaust that we built from the headers back. Once again, nobody really makes a great off-the-shelf part for a Hummer H2. So we did a full true dual setup all the way back with an X-pipe, and we actually have 2 remote cutouts that dump right after the headers. So this thing gets really noisy, loud, rowdy. It's also got an MSD 2-step on it for launching at the drag strip. So it gets sent on a regular basis. That there probably about wraps up the mod list on this. Guarantee I'm missing something, but that's the bulk of what we've got on here. Once we got all that done, got this thing strapped on the dyno, it wound up doing 815 and 735 foot-pounds. So pretty decent considering we were only on 16 pounds of boost. That was through an unlocked single disc converter on this big giant thing through a 4L80. So power to the ground is fighting against this thing pretty well, so we're pretty happy with that 815 power number. Like we said before, he was chasing that 13-second mark out at the drag strip in this big boat. We took it out on the street with our draggy setup, and on a soft launch, full weight, all that good stuff, it came up at 12.5 at 112. Not too horrible considering before we were at 1401 at 94 miles an hour, so we got quite the bump. And normally when he goes out to the drag strip, he's pulling back seats out, spare tire off the back, and leaving off the launch control. So we're hoping we're going to be shooting for low 12s, maybe high 11s if we're lucky, but we'll see on that. So if anyone knows of a Hummer out there that's running quicker than a 12.5, I would be very interested to know who that was. So please reach out to us, let us know if you're running quicker than a 12.5 in your H2.